So in this build project, there is a lot of things that I could be working on. I could be figuring out, I could be getting that rear axle together, the bearings, the seals and everything, and getting that rear axle together, getting the old axle out of here and the new axle in, working on the drive line, figuring out where I'm going to put a carrier bearing and how I'm going to get it. Am I going to take it out of a salvage yard, or am I going in another direction with that? But you have to start someplace. So one of the things that I kind of talked about in the last video was the cab. And I kind of stuck on giving thought to the cab, the wiring, and how everything is going to fit together in that. And I kind of want to do that as I bring the cab over here after I get this rear transmission mount on. I'm going to bring the cab over and kind of try and set it on there. But one of the things that I want to give thought to is, again, the cab and how this stuff is going to fit together, how much I have to cut out, where I could be able to put that extension dash that's going to hold gauges, switches, etc., and hopefully a fuse block behind it so that I can eliminate those old fuses and go with the new style fuses in the redone truck. So let me jump over to that, and I will bring you back intermittently to kind of explain some thoughts and why I'm going there. I'm sitting here in the cab of the truck and just kind of looking at a couple of things. So originally, see, I'm not really sure what these two here were. I've got an hour gauge over there. I've got a battery disconnect switch over here. So I'm going to try and have to do some exploring. Maybe go online and see if I can see what a 74 Ford F750 dashboard looked like. But why I'm in here is the gauges that are in here. I'm probably going to try and keep some of these gauges. Now that I look at them, I'm not really sure how many I am going to keep, because I would like what I was trying to do was keep the style of the gauge, a black background, black face, white letters, white pointer, backlit with amber light, because they logically, when this truck was built, they didn't have LED lighting, and they weren't into colored lighting like they are now, where sometimes they'll do a red or a greenish backlight lighting. I really don't want that. I want to try and keep the components to match original, because maybe I will keep that speedometer. But the oil pressure gauge is just one of them high-low oil pressure gauges, and I'd like to have an oil pressure gauge that reads in pounds. The same way with the volt gauge. They have charge and discharge on it, but I would like to keep it where I know exactly where it is, the numbers of it. The same way with the temperature gauge. I'd like to know what the temperature is running exactly instead of that. But again, I would like to keep with that original kind of concept or style of gauge, where it's a black face, white letters, white pointer, and incandescent light or white light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pull the dashboard out. why I kind of brought you in here is what I've got to come up with is a way of mounting gauges. Right now I think I'm at 10 or 12 gauges that I need. Now maybe because of this, maybe I can replace some of the gauges with the new style gauges that it will maybe fit in there, but let me see that. What I was doing is, here they have probably mounted this thing where the radio would have been. I'm not sure if there was ever a radio in this truck, but this is where the radio would have been. Of course, we have the heater stuff down here, but what I was kind of looking to do is come up with some kind of arrangement that I can get gauges onto. Now, somebody mentioned, well, why don't you put them up on the top? But there is very little room up on the top. There might be even less room by the time that I get it insulated, soundproofed, and stuff like that. Just know that I've still got to get the wiring back in here, get some tubes for air horn up in here, get an air horn valve, little pull chain, or sometimes there's a leather strap where you can pull it for the air horn. But what I was kind of looking at is trying to figure out where I can put these gauges and switches. There's also going to be a number of switches that are going to go in here, where I can put them without disrupting a lot of things or kind of really changing the flow of the original dashboard. I've still got, you're going to have the shift lever that comes up through here, so I've got to kind of work around that, but you still keep them prominent so that you can see them, so that they're fairly close by and you don't really have to look down that far. I don't want to put them down real low, because then you really take your eyes off of the road to be able to visualize them. So there's just some of the things that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be pulling the dashboard apart. One of the things that I was kind of looking to do is whatever I build to put those switches, gauges on, maybe the back side of it can be used for fuse blocks for the inside of the cab, because the original fuse blocks is right there, is that black box. And I might be able to get some fuses in that location, but definitely not enough fuses to cover everything that's going to be incorporated into this truck. Now, that being said, you know, some of the fuses that go for the sleeper might be able to be put in the sleeper, but still there's going to be a number of fuses that go in this truck that way more than the 6 that were originally involved in the truck. So anyways, that's some of the things that I'm going to be doing and working on, and I'm trying to work on these gauges. It's I'll tell you about the issue that I'm having with them some other time. Okay, the previous clip that I showed you was shot probably a month ago, and now we're in real time again, and I just kind of wanted to show you something. To begin with, there was another clip about me removing this dashboard, and I'm not going to show it to you because it was just me removing screws and stuff like that. But the one thing that I did want to show you, I had mentioned about the dashboard and not knowing what was original and what wasn't original. I just want to point out that this is that battery disconnect switch, and there is wire loom around these wires going to that switch that looks original to the truck. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that battery disconnect switch was original. Now, it just seems kind of funny that they had built this truck with no tachometer in it. So I'm kind of wondering, but it does, the way the dash came apart and the hole that they had put for the hour meter on the truck doesn't look big enough to have originally housed the tachometer. And I'm kind of wondering why, if there was a tachometer on this truck originally, and where it was located, if it was installed, was it in place of that where the hour gauge was? I've got to assume that they had a tachometer back by the pump or the pump controls for the tanker, so that you would know what the engine RPMs were to gain volume of the pump, but who knows. But anyways, let's so again, I'm not going to install the clip of me removing this panel. We're going to cut into another clip that was shot around the same time as this original one. Let me kind of show you what I got going on here. That's the insert out of the dashboard for the gauges, speedometer, etc. This is the insert out of that. Now, kind of what I had hoped was the gauges were individual gauges, but they're not. Well, they are individual gauges, but you see what they are? They're not really a gauge. They're just the backing plate, and this kind of fits over the top of it. Now, whether I would be able to get gauges into here is yet to be seen, but it's not what I was. Now, this one was blacked out. I kind of thought they had removed it. What it is there's a glass cover, and it is glass. And they had just painted over the front of it so that you couldn't see that was a fuel gauge behind there, and they had another fuel gauge on the truck where all those lights were. So we got this battery disconnect in here, and I'm almost wondering if that wasn't original equipment, because let me tell you why. Is because the wires that went to that battery disconnect were in a braided wire loom, which looked original to the truck. So it's possible that that thing was original. Now, this hour meter is definitely not original. It's a I don't want to lose those screws. Yeah, that thing is definitely not original. You could see where it was kind of cut and hacked in there. So let me explore my options on it, and I'll bring you back on as far as that goes. Okay, let's go back to the gauges. I went online, and going online sometimes is frustrating. You know what I mean? When there used to be only limited suppliers of stuff a long time ago, that you know, you were kind of, there was only a couple of places that you could go, and you had their catalogs. Going online and trying to find something now is very kind of frustrating or aggravating, because of all of the bullshit you have to go through to find what you're looking for to begin with. You know, there's a million things out there that are tagged like for gauges and have absolutely nothing to do with gauges. But let's get into it, and I'll stop rambling on. I found a couple of companies that had gauges that in the variations that I wanted. And when I say the variations, what I mean is I'm talking about for truck instrumentation. So I'm looking for pyro, coolant temp, oil temp, transmission temp, oil pressure, etc., air pressure, stuff like that. I am showing you a list, and you know, photographing paper, sometimes it blows out. So I'm going to kind of keep moving the camera so that you can see this. It may be at one position or another position. And if you wanted to stop the video just so that you could see it when it's in a good position. I think there's 9 gauges that I was kind of looking for, basically, and I went to this place because Ice Pro, it's ISSPRO, and they make gauges, and I went to them because the gauges in the truck are black background, white letters, white pointer. I kind of wanted to keep that consistent, even though I don't know how many of the gauges I'm going to use in the truck, but I wanted to try and keep that color scheme consistent. So if I do install gauges or when I do install gauges in the truck, they kind of match what was in the truck to begin with. I go to them and I just had a frustrating time with them to begin with. Their website gives you vague descriptions of what the gauge is. They don't tell you what the backlighting is or anything. So I had to go to their website. They want to send you to a dealer to begin with, one of their authorized dealers. I go to them and kind of figure it out, and finally got in contact with somebody there and say, listen, this is what I'm looking for. This is all via emails. It's not a conversation, a phone conversation. It's via email. This is what I'm looking for. Black background, white numbers, white pointer, ambient white light in the back. And she says, oh yeah, we have them, and we do have an online store. You can buy it off of online. So I go on the online store and I can't find the numbers. I get the numbers of the gauges. She referenced me to go to a place. I get the number of the gauges that I want, the part number. And I go to their store and I can't find any of those numbers in the store. And I email her back and say, listen, I'm having a problem. I'm kind of looking for this gauge. And she emails me back and she says, I don't understand what the problem is they're in the store. And then finally, after being frustrated with her for a while, I sent her an entire list of the gauges that I was looking for. And she emails me back and says, oh, here's the pricing on them. Those gauges aren't in our store. After she had told me to go to this group of gauges that would have it, she never told me that they weren't in their store, online store. But anyways, she sends me the price list of these gauges, and I think there's 9 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them. She sent me the price list of those 11 gauges, and it came out to $1,739.83, and that's probably not even the entire gauges that I'll need. $1,700 for 11 gauges. And I'm thinking, man, that's ridiculous. So I start looking at other people, and other people, I'll tell you what I went to. There's a company called Glow Shift, and the only issue with this company is that they do not have a white pointer. They have black background, white numbers, but a red pointer. They don't make it with a white pointer. The other issue is you have to buy the gauge with 7 different colors. Now there's a little switch on it so that you can change the color, but white is one of the colors that you can have. There's like white, red, green, blue, purple, you name it. It just goes on and on. And I guess that would be good because some of those, so if you wanted to match some of the newer cars that do have like red or blue or green lighting on them, that would be fine for it. But anyways, I went to these people, and the total, now I didn't get all 11 gauges because they don't have some of the gauges that I wanted, but their total for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the gauges is only $532. So what I did, and this is part of the dashboard out of the truck, what I did was, I'm thinking, you know what I'd like to do is keep this dashboard original, but I don't want these idiot style gauges where there's no numbers on it. It doesn't really tell you what the oil pressure in numbers is. It just says high, low, and same way with the alternator or voltage, and same way with the temperature. Now fuel is kind of different because it's full or empty, and there's markings in between so that you can tell whether it's half full or 3/4 full or a quarter full or a third full by just looking at it. But what I was kind of thinking is I'd like to do away with those gauges because they're not what I want. I want numerical gauges that tell me exactly what the oil pressure is. So I bought one of those glow shift gauges, and this is it. And what I was originally thinking of doing was taking these gauges out of here. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. And this is real glass in here too, by the way. I was thinking about taking those gauges out of there and putting these gauges in here in their place so that they kind of transfer through those spots. Now, what I would have to do is cut that stuff out of there, but it would be back. But the problem with their gauges is the thing is really set back. It's got that glass on it, and it's hard to see. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna think about it for a while and kind of try and figure it out and see what I'm gonna do. I might want to try and get a seat to put in there so I can see the position, because this thing, and if you reference back to the video on the dash that I keep referencing, you'll see that it sits kind of pretty flat in there, and you're back and kind of up from them gauges. It would be nice if they were kind of a little bit tilted up towards you, which would make this thing a lot easier to read instead of being straight on. I got to tell you though, the cover glass on it is probably not glass, it's probably plexiglass. The farther you get away from it, it kind of magnifies it. So maybe it'll be okay, but let me think about it. Okay, let's switch topics here a little bit. Let's talk about the electrical system and specifically fuse boxes. A couple of months ago, I had bought a fuse box from Napa, and I had been planning on using that. And then I kind of started thinking, you know, I wonder if there's aftermarket fuse boxes out there which are better than this. And I will show you the one that I bought from Napa. But in this video clip here, I am also going to put up a clip of a pick and pick of a fuse box from, and I think it's Summit Racing. But But again, here we go with the frustration of they provide this thing and don't give you any information on it. So I'm going to show you a pick and pick of the fuse box. I'm going to show you the detailed description of it, and what the detailed description doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you, it comes with fuses. It doesn't tell you what the fuses that it comes with are, what the rating of it is, or if you can change those fuse sizes into that thing. So again, a little more frustration, but I'm just kind of venting here, and it'll all be good in the long run. So here is a fuse block that I bought from Napa, and I bought this a while ago. I think there's 10 fuses in it. Yep, 10 fuses in it. But again, my frustration with this stuff, you know, I bought this fuse block and I've got it, but it doesn't even tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what size fuses those ports will adapt to or hold. It doesn't tell you the size of the pin connection, that wiring pin that you can use to connect to each one. Nothing. I mean, you buy stuff today and you don't really know what you're buying, and that's held true with what I kind of showed you on the online fuse panel from Summit Racing. Now, will it be easy to figure out? Yeah. I mean, you take it out and take it into a parts store and say, yeah, I need this pin to go onto this, and try it and make sure it fits good. The same way with the fuses. Will a 40 amp fuse fit in there? Will a 10 amp fuse fit in there? But again, kind of frustrating. So kind of in summation, you know, it's all going to get done. It's just kind of really frustrating to me dealing with these things, kind of trying to find things. You know, I mean, that IsoPro has all the gauges I want and kind of the style I want. I just don't want to pay $1,700, $2,000 for gauges. And I really don't want to mix and match the stuff. And it's just damn frustrating dealing with people that work for a company and don't have a clue what the hell's going on. I mean, how did they get this job? Who's the person that hired them and thought, yeah, this is a good fit? But anyways, the next video, I'm in the shop update. I'm building the brackets for the next shop update. I'm building the brackets for that transmission housing, and hopefully the next haul truck video will be some actual work getting done instead of frustrated Fred taking his rant of vendors out on you guys.